Hey, what's up, guys? This is Samuel G, and I wanna, start the. I'm gonna start. This series of ways to play is not in a particular order. I mean, there's no chronological or whatever, like alphabetical order. So I just, from the top of my mind, an issue that occurs, and I go. One of the most important, not the most important, but one of the issues that in my journey in the hobby I've encountered is the problem of rolling dice, like why you roll and how often you roll, and what you roll, or all that, and the relationship to dice rolling in RPG is complex, and is some table, some group they roll often, some other don't, and when I started as a GM, I realized I there was something that was happening where there was like too many roles. There was like a role for anything, and the books, they were not really clear on how can I say that? They were not really clear on how much roll, and why you roll, and when you roll, and what you roll. So sometimes you were just rolling all the time, or just repeating rolls, and then just rolling like for stuff that is not worth it, and doing things that are not useful, and the thing is that this issue is grounded on the idea of making a distinction between task resolution and conflict resolution. And so these concepts, if you don't know the difference between task resolution role versus conflict resolution role, I mean, you don't get the sense of scale, so a task is a basic fundamental thing, like I want to climb a tree, roll climbed, task resolution. And conflict resolution is a role that will cover a bigger spectrum. So I want to climb a tree because I want to send a message from the top of the tree for the people to join me in the forest at this spot, because otherwise, I won't get out of the forest because I'm lost. So a task resolution is, the approach would be climb the tree, then roll for sending the message, then roll for going down, another climb, but the other way around, and then roll, so this is the idea of, you roll for everything. So when you're a beginner, sometimes that's what happens, and you just end up like that. And so so that's what would happen, for if you take the task resolution to resolve that conflict. But if you do conflict resolution role, and you want to do that, you can roll climb, and just interpret that role as it will, cover everything. Now the problem is that so one roll, climb, and you climb up, climb down, and the message was sent, right? But some people would say, like, yeah, but what if they don't get to see you up there? Or why if they don't get to hear you? And then all these minutiae create all kinds of small and little issues that just can bug a game down, and just And so the idea is that depending on the scope, depending on the approach to a player intention, if in a GM-based game, the GM role is to, be the referee of, telling you what to roll and when. So one good principle that I know about that is say yes. So say yes comes from Apocalypse World. I got that from Vincent Baker. You can also find it in Burning Wheel with Luke Crane. It's just whenever there's a role, whenever a player wants to do something trivial, like going over a fence whenever it's not important, going from a place to another whenever it's not important, buying goods that are not important, so whenever I'm saying it's not important, what I'm saying is that there's no conflict there. So example, to apply the say yes principle for climbing a tree. Players say, I want to climb the tree. I want to spend the night up in the tree because I don't want to get attacked by a bear. So instead of make him roll climb to fail or pass, instead of to fail or pass that and having to apply another and do roll, you just say yes and you got it, you can go, it's okay. Or whenever you say like I want to buy these goods about that, and then or I want to exchange whatever, instead of making roll the skill, just say yes. You just yes. But that principle, the say yes principle, so basically the way to make it simple is that whenever it's not conflictual, say yes, you don't roll. So that's really nice because it takes away all the useless rolls, the useless moment of pass or fail that means nothing. So many times that you roll something for something basic, roll perception this, roll climb this, roll this, that, and then the player doesn't have it. Like for example, a perception roll, there's 5 people, everybody roll perception, and if there's 5 people, the chances are so high that 1 out of 5 will see something. And then you're gonna get yourself stuck somewhere stupid. Let's say you have 1 guy over 5 that actually passed the roll, and then you tell him what's up, and then he has the choice to repeat it back, and you repeat shit and stuff, and then so instead of putting yourself in a corner like that, you just don't ask for a roll for a scene, or you say yes. So I want to take a look around and see if I see some people, and this will escalate. Like for example, one guy rolled his perception, he failed. The next guy say, I'm gonna take a look too, and roll again, and then no, until someone pass and give the answer to all the group. This is so stupid, it's so useless. So you take away all these clunky moment, in the game, in your games, just by saying yes, or just not making roll for stuff that will not be conflictual. So now, I think you guys understand what it is. If you've read the Apocalypse World introduction or so at the beginning, say yes. So it's just whenever a player want to do something and it's not conflictual, you don't make a roll, say yes. Now this say yes comes with a counterpart, which is never say no. And this one is huge because never say no means that whatever a player want to do something, as the GM, you will manage to make it work, without fiat, just by utilizing the rules. So how do you do that? Well, so a player says something, for example, where you I don't know, a player says let's say for example you describe a scene, and in the scene I talked about that in the past, like it's so Runeslinger and Ivan have words for that now, but I don't remember. But the infamous baseball bat in the bar, right? So I'm gonna come back to it because it's the example I used. You are in a bar, and you describe the bar to the player as a GM. And in the description of the bar, you don't talk about the baseball bat behind the counter. And a player say, I want to make a perception check, see if I can find a baseball bat behind the counter. Say yes, there is one, right? Or if a player say, I go behind the counter, I grab a baseball bat there, I grab the baseball bat laying there by the barman for protection, and then I join the fight. Don't say no. Yes, it is. Because what happens if you say no? Well, first, you just do a waste of narrative energy. Player has a cool idea, he narrates it, and you say no. So it never happened. It was said, it's in the air, never happened. Whenever you say no, that structure will come back often. Because something's gonna be proposed, a player's gonna have an idea, is gonna propose it, and you say no as a GM. It's a shared story, it's a collaboration. Whenever you say no, you go anti-collaboration. So say yes and never say no, right? Now, Runeslinger, really come back with, I don't understand why, Anthony, you should tell me one day, but you often come back with the idea that, what if the player, grabs something that is not of the genre, or something way too much. So the player creates something way too much, like out of his narration. And so, for example, he goes behind the bar and he grabs a lightsaber and I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, nobody's gonna do that. So there is a conception out there sometimes about this idea of never say no or say yes, that sometimes the GM needs to say no. I'm a strong proponent. I really do believe that you never have to say no. You just have to think about it. You just have to interpret it. You just have to make it your own as the GM. Because if you want a true collaboration, you want the player to participate. There's another thing that's happening. If you say no a couple of times, they will stop trying shit. And that's just a human behavior. This is just human behavior, and you don't want that to happen. So whenever I say no, you antagonize the player's idea, you waste the time and the energy and the narrative energy of a play because you say no, and then some guys are going to fall into discussion. It's just waste of time and energy. So whenever you say yes all the time, everything goes. It's a powerful word, especially in role playing, especially if you want to encourage collaboration. So this is the say yes principle, and whenever you apply that religiously in your game, you will save so much energy and time and waste, and just like by taking away all the useless roles, by going task resolution versus conflict resolution, you're gonna take away all the useless roles, and it's not gonna happen anymore. You will encourage the players to propose ideas and stuff and scenes and object and people and descriptions of places and stuff, and so this principle is really powerful, because by never saying no, you open the collaboration and you open the space. But obviously it demands some form of improvisation, because whenever a player, because sometimes what happens is that you describe a scene and a player don't see the scene the same way you do. For example, in your scene that you describe, the walls are like 25 foot high, you know, and you thought that it was obvious that they were not climbable, but the player say, I'm climbing the wall, because he didn't get it like that. So instead of saying no, they are 25 feet high, you say roll, and then you appropriate the narration for yourself and description, making it hard, showing him that they are 25 in your head, and then he fails, and then you make you know, failing forward out of that, and you know, and then you keep going, but don't say no. So, or if you do like me, they were 25 in your head. He says, I'm climbing the wall. Now they're 6 foot, the walls. I don't care. You know, this is me. This is my style. You know, if I describe a scene and I don't do a good enough job, so the player don't see it the same way I do, well, I will not impose my view. I will change it and make it run and make it interesting. You say yes, let's go. Yes, it's fun. And I'm never gonna say like, no, you can't. They're actually 20 feet high. It feels like GM fiat for a player, right? So anyway, so that's what I'm saying, and about that. So say yes or never say no is an amazing principle that solves all these little issues that I've just mentioned and many more. It's a great opener, and cleans up a lot of the cobwebs and the clunkiness of play. And actually, when you do it truly, it actually gives way more leverage to the GM, because when you say yes, you kind of like have a big impact on what is rolled and what is not. Think about it. If you're a control freak, that's really good. All right, thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.